People often ask me why I film a lot of my content indoors. It's almost like living in Italy brings with it a certain expectation that you're always going to be outside, soaking up the beauty of this country. However, there's something fundamental that nobody really talks about when you live in Italy, or anywhere you've dreamed about, really. It's not dramatic, there's no music swell. One day you simply find yourself looking out of the window annoyed because it's raining yet again and you've got washing to do, and you realise this is my life now. Not my adventure, but my actual regular life. And that realisation, it's strange, because for so long Italy was the dream, the fantasy you'd scroll through on Instagram of a night, the one day you'd whisper to yourself. But nobody tells you what happens when one day becomes today, and tomorrow, and the day after that. Let's be honest about the beginning though. Those first few months, they are cinematic. Everything feels like you're living out an eat, pray, love moment. You take photos of your morning cornetto. You get emotional watching old Italian men play cards in the piazza. You're hyper aware of where you are. You walk differently. You notice things. The way light hits a building at 4 p.m, the sound of shutters opening in the morning, how the air smells different before it rains. You're living in this heightened state of awareness because your brain is constantly reminding you, you did it, you're here. And that feeling is real. I don't want to diminish it because that magic is absolutely real. But slowly there's a shift that happens. So slowly you don't notice it at first. One day you walk past the Colosseum or the Duomo or whatever landmark is in your city, and you don't stop. You don't take a photo. You're just trying to get to the pharmacy before it closes for lunch. You start to develop opinions about which bus route is better. You know exactly which bar has the best coffee. You're no longer translating every conversation in your head. You're just existing in Italian, or trying to anyway. The supermarket staff stop asking where you're from. The barista makes your coffee without you having to order. Someone at the bar complains about politics, and somehow you understand enough to nod knowingly. And then one morning you wake up and realise you forgot to feel grateful yesterday because you just lived. And there's this weird guilt that comes with that, because on social media people are still commenting on your photos, living the dream. And you really want to reply, I mean, I guess, but also I'm having to wait 8 months to sort out my bureaucracy, and I'm about to lose my mind. Life in Italy is still life. You still have bad days, days where you're lonely, days where you miss understanding every conversation around you, days where you just want things to be easy for once. The bureaucracy is real and it's spectacular, often in the worst possible way. You still have to clean your apartment, pay bills, have awkward small talk, feel insecure, procrastinate, wonder what you're doing with your life. The architecture is gorgeous, yes, but you still have to figure out what to have for dinner, again, for the 400th night in a row. The romance of living in Italy crashes headfirst into the reality of living in Italy. And I think this is where people feel betrayed, like they were sold a dream and got a regular life, just with different coloured buildings. But what if this was actually the point? The dream of Italy or France or Japan or wherever you've idealised, that dream isn't always going to be more perfect than the reality, because dreams don't have traffic jams, tax codes, or days where you feel invisible. But real life has something better than perfection. It has texture and depth, the kind of knowing that only comes from repetition. When the dream becomes life, you lose the Instagram version, but you gain something else. You gain the experience of walking home from dinner and not thinking, I'm in Italy, But just thinking about the conversation you just had, the way your friend laughed, the fact that you need to remember to buy pasta, you gain actual relationships instead of transactions. The neighbour who brings you oranges from her tree, the community that forms when you're not just passing through. You gain the privilege of being bored in a beautiful place, which sounds terrible, but is actually kind of profound. Because tourists get the highlight reel, but you get the whole movie. The boring parts, the frustrating parts, the parts where nothing happens. And somehow, these make the beautiful moments mean more. When you stop performing living in Italy and just live in Italy, that's when it actually becomes yours. I think we need to talk about this more, the normalizing, the way extraordinary circumstances become ordinary through the simple act of repetition. Not to be ungrateful, but to be honest. Because if you're thinking about moving abroad, or if you already did and you're feeling weird about the fact that you're not euphoric every single day, you need to know that that's normal. That's healthy even. The dream was never supposed to sustain you forever. It was supposed to get you here. And now that you're here, you have to build an actual life. Some days that life will take your breath away. The light will hit a certain way and you'll think, I can't believe I actually live here. Other days you'll be crying on the floor because you got your taxes wrong and you don't understand the letter from the Comune and you just want someone to help you who speaks your language. Both of those days are real. Both of those days are valid. And neither of them negate the fact that you made this choice, that you're building something, that this is your life, not a postcard version of someone else's. So when does the dream of Italy become life? When you stop waiting for it to feel like a dream. When you accept that the magic isn't in constant novelty, it's in the accumulation of small repeated moments that eventually feel like home. When you realize that normal isn't the enemy of extraordinary. Sometimes normal is extraordinary. You just can't see it when you're busy performing it for an audience. I guess what I'm saying is if you move somewhere for the dream and you're feeling like you've woken up, good. Wake up, be here, be present for the boring parts and the hard parts and the parts that wouldn't make a good Instagram post, because that's the real Italy. That's the real anywhere. And it's not always cinematic, but it's yours. And actually, that's somewhat better.